This is a Pele Media podcast.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Goonies Minute. Goonies Minute is the show where we explore the 1985 classic film Goonies minute by minute. I am your host, Brady.
And this is Chris.
And today we are covering minute number 8. Chris, let's talk about something other than the weather as our
opening
opening banter.
Well, I'm really excited about this minute because things are really starting to ramp up, and we have a lot of interesting stuff going on in this minute.
No, absolutely. This is a very interesting one. We get another cool introduction for Data and some other little funny jabs that are going on. But I tell you what, before we talk about it, let's take a look at it.
Let's do it.
In the previous minute, we saw the complex contraption designed to open the front gate go into motion. At 8 minutes, the gate finally opens and Chunk runs through. At 8 minutes and 8 seconds, Mouth closes the front door on Chunk as Chunk excitedly explains to them what he has just seen. At 8 minutes and 13 seconds, Chunk has come through the door and continues to explain the police chase. Mikey and Mouth move over to the aquarium, completely ignoring Chunk. At 8 minutes and 20 seconds, Chunk wraps up his story about the most amazing thing he ever saw. The others ask if it's more amazing than a number of tall tales that Chunk has told them over the years. At 8 minutes and 43 seconds, we cut to Data, who is preparing his latest invention, Wings of Flight. He turns on the classic 007 theme as he swings across a zipline running from his house to Mikey's. At 8 minutes and 54 seconds, we see Mikey and Mouth jump up as they spot Data heading right towards the front door. At 8 minutes and 57 seconds, Mikey runs to open the front door, but doesn't have enough time to open the screen door, and Data comes crashing through. And thus ends Minute 8 of the Goonies.
All right, so one of the things that we have going on in this minute is Data getting yet again his own big intro. You know, every time we've seen Data so far, it's been all eyes on Data. And he's always got something big going on. It's not just, you know, kind of a simple introduction for him. It's always a big, you know, grand production.
Right, but one of the things that's also interesting, and I was the one that mentioned how he had his own music.
Yeah.
Well, he does, but this time that music is 007 music.
That's right. And here's what's interesting. So we saw his belt buckle earlier. It said 007, and now he's got the actual song going, which becomes part of the score in the movie. When he crashes through the door, it's not just playing on his little jam box anymore. It's actually like carrying over into the soundtrack of the movie. But Steven Spielberg has always wanted to make a James Bond movie. And so I think it's interesting that he's kind of got these little, you know, he wrote the movie. So it's interesting that he's kind of gotten his little James Bond movie he can make right here in just a few little segments.
Yeah, that's cool. It's kind of this tribute to something he's always wanted to do, but not able to do it for some reason.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, why? I mean, he can do whatever he wants. I wonder why that never happened. There's got to be a
There's
reason.
been other directors who've wanted to take a stab at 007. Christopher Nolan, who did the Dark Knight movies, also has always wanted to do one. And I don't know that I could really imagine a Steven Spielberg James Bond movie. And that's stupid of me because the guy's very versatile. He can make different types of movies. But
let me tell you what, if Steven Spielberg would release the next James Bond movie, think about the box office records that could possibly break.
Just the names attached to it. One, you've got the the property James Bond,
right,
with Steven Spielberg's name attached to it.
That'd
be huge.
Frightening how big that could be.
Seriously. That's not to get off subject here, but to get off subject. My thing with James Bond has always been the actor behind who's playing James Bond and the director. Their names should never be bigger than the character.
That's right. I agree because this is a character. This is a series that has gone on for many years, so it's never been able to be one actor. So it better be bigger than that name.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I've always thought. But anyway, back to Goonies.
Yeah, back to the minute.
There you go.
Back to the minute. It's interesting. Data, busting in through the door. But I want to get back to a little bit before that is Chunk yelling about telling the truth.
Okay.
And he was like, "Guys, I swear, like this is true, this is real," and it's a theme of what's that word? Hold on. One of the things that Chunk does is he cries wolf.
Yeah.
And he has to, as he's trying to talk about this chase, he has to try to reiterate over and over that this time he's telling the truth.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that's interesting about it is you get to see each one of them has a story of what he has some kind of tall tale that he's told in the
Yeah.
past. The first one is Michael Jackson came over and used the bathroom, and the other one is he saved a bunch of old folks in a nursing home fire, and the last one, I can't actually understand what Mouth is saying, but it's something about a Godfather's pizza.
Yeah, you ate your weight.
Okay, it is okay.
Yeah.
Then I actually did hear it.
All right. If I'm not mistaken.
Actually, that makes it even funnier because that's what I thought he said. I have it written down. Is ate his weight, and I was like, did he really say that?
Yeah.
So yeah, and that's pretty funny. And then you hear Chunk say, "No, Michael Jackson, no, Brant. Michael Jackson didn't really come over to my house to use the bathroom, but his sister did."
Yeah. You know, when he says that, he kind of like flubs the line and he looks off screen, and I can only imagine he's looking over at like the director or somebody saying like, "Oh shit, you know,
Yeah.
I just screwed this up." But you know, he comes back around, but his sister did.
And I thought that was really funny is because you have each one of them. You have Mikey, Brant, and Mouth each have an example of something that he did, that some lie that he told.
And what's funny is that he's got this lie, and then later he calls the sheriff or whatever and starts trying to say, and the sheriff won't believe him either. And suddenly he finds that his only way to get out of having his hand thrown into a blender is to start telling the truth.
Right.
And he just starts spilling everything.
That's really, isn't that ironic?
Yeah, and that's what kind of prolongs this torture he's about to go through.
But you notice also with this, you know, he's telling the story of the chase of what he saw from the arcade.
Mm-hmm. And
do you notice that all of the other Goonies they're just completely dismissing it? They're not, they're not even really interested in, like, here is another one of his crazy stories. They're really dismissing it. Which I thought that's kind of interesting. It's like they just doesn't even. It's not even on their stratosphere, you know.
Yeah, and that okay. So and yet later, you know, Captain Chunk is going to come in and save the day and everything. Let me ask you this. So we see this as like, okay, this is the Goonies movie. It belongs to them, or it's Mikey's story. It belongs to him. Do you think Chunk is the real hero behind the whole thing? Is this Chunk's movie?
It could be. You could say that, but every time it gets serious, it's Mikey.
Yeah.
That's the only thing.
He's the real.
Chunk, I think they each add their part to the movie, and yes, Chunk is a major part of it. Chunk is more comedic, and Chunk is one of the people that saves the day. But the serious part and the serious theme is Mikey.
Mikey's story, yeah.
You know, so it just depends on how you look at it.
Yeah.
But it all mixes well together.
Yeah, and that's another great thing, too, is this movie's called The Goonies. This is about the collective group here, and nobody gets overshadowed by the other guy. You know, we do get even time with each of these four kids. And then, of course, if you want to throw in Bran as well. But this movie does a very good job of evening things out and giving you this. It's not Mikey and the Goonies or anything like that. It's the Goonies.
Now, you started off the minute by talking about Data.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that's interesting is that he is the neighbor of Mikey.
Yeah, that's right.
And he calls, let's see, Wings of Flight.
Yeah.
That's what he calls the little contraption that he takes the wire over to. So it's Wings of Flight. So this makes you think, okay, he would probably be one of those ones losing the house also, which we hear about in a little bit. When Data flies through the door, you know what it reminded me of? The Greatest American Hero.
Yeah, the old TV show?
Yeah, because because of his inability to land. And it just reminded me of The Greatest American Hero.
It's a good show.
It's like, I don't know if that had anything to do with it. But he's like a superhero. He does these crazy things, but he screws up just as much as he does well.
And
Look at what's happening here.
Yeah.
I can't believe it myself. Suddenly I'm up on top of the world. It couldn't be somebody else.
Chris McMahon, ladies and gentlemen. Chris McMahon. Dude, you know the Greatest American Hero, that actor was going to be Luke Skywalker at one point?
Based on the way they look, I can see that.
I can see that. All right, well, look, that's all. Is it all that I have? Oh, yeah, no, the view out of the Walsh's window or their front porch of the Bay Area is amazing. And it's so funny that Mikey, the direction he would have been looking at through with his telescope, is the same direction that One-Eyed Willie's ship is going to be taking off.
It's definitely a beautiful view, and I did not realize that is where the pirate ship comes out.
If I'm not mistaken.
It makes sense.
Yeah, because, we're facing out into the bay and then into wherever the hell the bay leads to.
I think it probably leads to the Pacific Ocean.
You think is that?
Yeah.
No, wait. I was going to say the Panama Canal, dude.
A little bit north of the Gulf of Mexico.
It leads to Lake Erie.
No, that leads
doesn't.
out to the Pacific.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
Well,
pretty much all I have
yeah,
for this minute, Brady. A lot going on here and a lot of interesting stuff.
All right, everybody, tune back in tomorrow for minute number 9. And again, next week, we have Miss Crystal Beth, who's going to be a special guest on the show. So be sure to tune in for that as well. But until then, I am Brady.
And this is your co-host, Chris.
Your co-host, that's right. And we're here to remind you that Goonies never say die.
die.
Uh-huh. You had to do it. Had to chime in there.
Goonies Minute is a fan-supported podcast. If you like the show, then leave us a review on iTunes. You can find us at GooniesMinute.com, Facebook.com/GooniesMinute, Twitter.com/GooniesMinute, and at Instagram at GooniesMinute. You can contact us at GooniesMinute@gmail.com. You've been listening to a Pele Media podcast. For premium content and exclusive podcasts, visit us at patreon.com/Pele Media. Check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/Pele Media and follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/Pele Media.